Let's say that human beings live to 120 years old. That means that we all have 100 years or less in our current meat suits to make the most of it. Some of us might have a few years. Some of us might have a few months. Some of us might have a few weeks. I might die any day now. So I want to make the most of it. And that just means being very conscious about how I spend my time and my energy and who I'm spending my time with and what I'm doing with my time on this earth. Because I want to make the most of it. And I'm very scared of having a massive pain of regret on my deathbed by not doing the things that I say that I want to do. Welcome to episode 7 of the Dr. Chris Stepien Show, where my mission is to help people who are suffering and the doctors, therapists, and healers who are committed to doing something about it. Today, I want to talk to you about the 5 frames that I use for waking up and staying awake. I don't know if you're anything like me, but I am very scared of sleepwalking through life. I'm currently 39 years old. I am scared of waiting till 44, 49, 59, 69, 79, maybe 89 years old, and realizing that I'm close to the end of my life, and then looking back and saying, hold on a second, Chris, you didn't do any of the things that you said were important to you. You didn't go after any of your goals and dreams. You didn't live consciously, and now you're about to die. And the pain of that regret scares me enormously, so much so that I have come up with these 5 frames for waking myself up and then for staying awake in case I fall asleep again and I start sleepwalking through life. The beautiful thing about these frames is that once you wake up, you're truly free. Just like once you've truly spiritually, emotionally died, now you can truly live. With these 5 frames, you can wake yourself up in as little a minute of time. Some of you may wake up as soon as you hear these things. As soon as I heard the concept or idea, whether it was in my head or I learned this from somewhere else, I realized I don't want to be unconscious anymore. And it allowed me to choose a different place to put my attention and a way to choose action so that I can do the things that I say are important to me. So let's go over those 5 frames. And with these 5 frames, we're going to start with the most egotistical or physical that is individualized for each of us to the most truth realized, the thing that is the most abstract and zoomed out. The first one is the Solomon's paradox combined with the 80-year-old self. King Solomon was this guy in the Bible, and he gave out all this wisdom, and then he couldn't take his own wisdom, and he ended up dying. The idea with Solomon's paradox is that we give better wisdom to other people than we give to ourselves, and we act out. So when you combine the idea that we don't give or take our wisdom well and act out what we know to be true that we would give to someone else, with the idea that your deathbed self, the one that has lived your best life, your 10x life, who has expressed your fullest potential, can communicate and speak to your current self now. So if you tap into that current self who knows you better than anybody else is going to know you and anybody else who's going to give you advice and wisdom, and you talk to them in your mind's eye. So whether you're meditating or whether you're just outside wandering in nature, you can use these frames anywhere, or whether it's before sleep and you're going in your mind's eye and then you're going and talking to 90-year-old Chris, however old he is, and he's super happy. He's lived his best life ever. So many happy people around his deathbed. And then I'm going to talk to him and say, okay, 90-year-old Chris, I'm struggling right now. What do I do with my current circumstances? I'm stuck. I'm not sure what action to take. And what action do I take to get to your place, to get to the place where I would live this amazing, fulfilled, purposeful life, and I don't have any regrets like you do on your deathbed? This is how you use the Solomon's paradox with your deathbed self. And just realize that you have a deathbed self who lives a really shitty life and has a lot of regret. You could also talk to that individual and ask that person what choices or decisions they made now to get there and avoid those decisions like the plague. This is the Solomon's paradox and deathbed self frame. The next frame that I use is the just born into this body right now frame. So sometimes when I'm meditating and before I'm almost done and I'm about to open my eyes, and I'll say, Chris, what would it be like for you to actually imagine that you were born into this physical body right in this second? You have no concept or memory of anything from 0 to 39 years old, and you're just born right now. So when you open your eyes, everything you see and everything you experience is going to be for the very first time. And then you do it, and you get yourself into that place, and you're saying, okay, this is going to be brand new. And then you open your eyes, and you look around, and you realize that there's this unbelievable three-dimensional world that you have available to you. And then as you're looking around, you see these hands going up by your side. And you're like, what are these things? And they got fingers, and then you're moving them. And I'm realizing I'm moving these fingers as I'm looking at them, and then I'm moving them back and forth, and I could grab things, and I could grab my Active Life mug right here, and I could drink some tea, and then I start walking my feet. Oh my gosh. My feet are moving on the ground. How amazing. And then I smell flowers outside, and then there's a cookie, and I eat this cookie. Oh my gosh, I can taste this thing. And I look around all these senses, and I feel warmth on my body or cold on my body and all the stimulation. It's an amazing exercise to become very, very present right now and appreciate the body that you have. I sometimes at 39 years old get very scared about the body that I'm in, that my low back is bothering me, or that I can't use my hands as well, or I can't run anymore. And when I use this frame on a daily basis, I see that I have so much about my body that is going so damn well that it allows me to be very, very grateful. And instead of being very pessimistic about my future, I become very optimistic. So this frame is the Just Born Right Now frame, and it'll help you get into your body and appreciate what your body and your health can do right now. The third frame I like to use is the Zombies Everywhere frame. I heard this story some time ago where you've probably been walking on the street and there are other people walking by you and they don't even look at you. I notice that I'm looking at people and I'm waiting for them to look at me so I can smile, and they don't even look at me. Or sometimes I'll just be like, hey, hi. And sometimes they'll smile hi back, and sometimes they just keep walking. And I think this is weird. And I heard this story that people are abroad internationally. Let's say they're in Beijing, there are a lot of Chinese people. And then let's say that there's a white person walking and they see another white person. And all of a sudden, because they saw someone who's familiar to them, a white person, they're saying hi instead of saying hi to all of the Chinese people they see. That's just interesting to me. It's interesting to me that we say hi to the people who are more familiar to us and don't say hi to people who aren't so familiar. So I imagine that there are zombies everywhere and they've killed everyone. And then what that does is, because I imagine that there are no human beings left on Earth, if I see somebody walking on the street, I'm going to say hi and smile to them no matter what, because there are zombies everywhere and I just saw another human being, and that another human being is consciousness and life in that physical meat suit, and I'm happy and excited to see them. It just helps me appreciate people, because I don't like the idea. I don't really go into New York City living in New Jersey. I like living by the forest. But if I did go into New York City, I would want to be connecting with all of the people there. I don't like the idea of going to a place with other lives being lived by people in meat suits and just not acknowledging them. I've even found that when I walk by people on the street who are asking for food or money, I learned somewhere along the way, if I didn't have money or didn't want to give them money, I'm sorry, I don't have any money to give to you, but I see you. I'm sorry, I can't help you right now. And I would have a lot of homeless people say, thank you so much, just for acknowledging their existence. Pretend like there are zombies everywhere, and then you will appreciate and respect every single human being that you see. The fourth frame that I use, I call the Reign Over Me frame. 2007, this awesome movie with Adam Sandler came out. It hit me right in the heart, called Reign Over Me. And in the movie, Adam Sandler has a wife and 3 daughters, and they die in a plane crash, in the 9/11 plane crashes. And the whole movie is him playing video games because he's miserable and has PTSD and trauma, and this woman trying to help him heal. And towards the end of the movie, I'm going to spoil it for you, but he ends up kind of starting to have feelings for this woman. But it's a tearjerker. And the Pearl Jam song Reign Over Me with it, that I think comes from Peter Townsend from The Who, is also amazing if you like Pearl Jam. In this frame, it's a little bit sick and twisted, I've been told, but you imagine that your partner, so in my case, my partner Katie, and then my 2 boys and my sons, Bear and Koa, are dead. So I'm home with them, but I actually imagine that they're dead and that I have an experience where they have come back to life and I get to be with them again. What this very powerful and potent frame does is it brings me here, present, right now, to be with them. And when I have work to do, or I'm stressed out, or I notice that I'm starting to get irritated, or I might be trying to yell at Bear or Koa, when I imagine that they're gone and that I have an experience, an opportunity now to be with them again, I don't take it for granted and I cherish those moments. I love up on them, I grab them, I hold them, I tell them I love them, I kiss them a million times, I kiss Katie a million times, and it allows me to just appreciate them because I'm scared of taking them for granted and them being gone someday. So I use the Reign Over Me frame to be present with them as much as possible. The last frame I love to use when I'm especially out in nature, I just call the oneness frame. I read a book called Original Thinking years ago, which was a dialogue between First Nation Native American elders and quantum physicists. And they basically believe and see the world in the same way. And the First Nations, so the Lakota of the Americas, they have a very earth-based language. They don't have nouns in their language. Everything is basically verbal. So instead of saying, I did this, you did that, the dog runs, the bird flies, when they see a bird, they just point and they say flying. Or they see a duck and they say swimming. Everything is just in the present moment now. It's all happening and unfolding right now. And then by pointing at the different animals doing this and saying being, so instead of saying, I am that, being, flying, swimming, running, walking, you're acknowledging that your consciousness is inside of your meat suit, but it's also inside of that meat suit. It allows the separation between bodies to diffuse so that we become one and connect with all of us. And then we realize that when we die, we're only leaving this physical meat suit. It doesn't mean that our consciousness is dead. Our consciousness dissolves. Our consciousness just evolves and becomes something else. Because before I was born in this meat suit in 1984, I was something else from the beginning of time, whenever the Big Bang happened. I am consciousness always evolving. This is just my current evolution of my consciousness. It's currently in Dr. Chris in this physical meat suit, wearing this costume, pretending to be this doctor who has things to say and on this mission of helping people heal suffering. So to humble myself, I just say flying, running, swimming, seeing, meditating, watering plants, drinking tea. It's hot. That's who I am. And this helps me get over myself and out of my ego-based thinking and into a more calm-based thinking about the world. And this is also a great frame that I use before. One of the styles of meditation I use is I bring my awareness to all of space and time. So instead of being in this room or in New Jersey, I try to contemplate how big the universe is. And it just helps your mind to make really far connections in your mind in order to connect the dots and create stronger neurological connections so that we become more brilliant than we already are. Those are the 5 frames that I use to wake up and to stay awake. If you're viewing this, I assume that you're at least 20 years old, and let's say that human beings live to 120 years old. That means that we all have 100 years or less in our current meat suits to make the most of it. Some of us might have a few years, some of us might have a few months, some of us might have a few weeks. I might die any day now. So I want to make the most of it, and that just means being very conscious about how I spend my time and my energy and who I'm spending my time with and what I'm doing with my time on this earth, because I want to make the most of it. And I'm very scared of having a massive pain of regret on my deathbed by not doing the things that I say that I want to do. I hope that these frames help you wake up and stay awake and do the things that are deep in your heart that you aspire to do, your goals and your dreams that you thought were childish and you put aside, the things that you don't want to go after, especially you doctors, therapists, and healers who have a lot of healing to do and serving other people and aren't necessarily doing it for one excuse or another. I hope that you pick up your sword and you decide to go after your mission, whatever that thing is in your life, because the world needs more people with their hearts lit on fire, lit ablaze, and doing the things that only they can do, singing the song that only they can sing. Try one of the frames. Please reach out to me, comment, DM, whatever on Instagram, email, doesn't matter. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if it's helpful. Any of your feedback and your comments are really helpful to me because it lets me think about what type of content that I continue to create for you. And subscribe on Spotify and YouTube. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. It is a good day to die. Oh.